How pleasant in winter to sit by the hob, listening to the barks and the howls of a dog, or in summer to wander.
I'm here in the ancient ruins of the Priory at Kells, located 7 miles south of Kilkenny City. Not far from here, on the side of the road, is a bush covered in rags and different items. This is known as St. Patrick's Raggedy Bush. I'm here today to find out more about the origin and myths surrounding this ancient custom. Having spent quite a lot of time researching the Raggedy Bush, it became apparent that very little had been written about it, but for a few exceptions. The Kells area, though, is steeped in history, and it is not surprising that the tradition of the Raggedy Bush has survived. Kells Priory, one of the biggest in Europe, dates back to its foundation in 1193. Nearby Kilree is particularly interesting. It is believed that in 844 the High King of Ireland, Niall Collier, drowned in the nearby river, attempting to save a servant. The river has been known as the King's River ever since. King Niall's final resting place is underneath the Celtic cross at Kilree. Rag trees were traditionally located near holy wells and churches, and bull-on stones like the one at St. Patrick's Raggedy Bush were also common. Bull-on stones were used in pre-Christian times as vessels for offerings to Celtic gods, and played an important part in the transition to Christianity. My first port of call is Shirley's Bar, where I've arranged to meet local man of knowledge Matt White.
Matt, how are you? Nice to meet you. How are you? Great.
Matt, can you tell us a little bit about the origins of the Raggedy Bush?
Generally believed, they use the pond, that they take their roots from Celtic times, and they were associated with places of worship and places of religion. There are a number of them throughout the country, and there's one in particular here in Kells, which is quite frequently visited, and a lot of tradition and folklore about it.
Why do people hang things out of the Raggedy Bush?
People hang things out of the Raggedy Bush. It's an old custom that we've had for years. One of them being related to one's health. If somebody was sick in the family, they would maybe tear a piece from the tail of their shirt or from their ganzi or their tie, and they'd hang it on the Raggedy Bush. And as the piece of material would deteriorate, the health of the person in question would improve. They also hanged material on the bushes for luck. And there's an old story in this area which is quite true, I believe. There's an old man living, he's dead now, but he was a famous bookmaker called Patsy Brown, a bit of a character. But Patsy went to Kilkenny every Wednesday and Friday night to the Greyhound track. And on his way in, he always hung a bit of a rag in the bush, so it would bring him luck. So he never went broke. So we can presume it worked for Patsy anyway. But it was always generally associated with matters related to health or luck. And in some parts of Ireland, I think they also use it for if people were emigrating, that they would hang a rag on the bush hoping that they would someday return to their home.
Now we know about the bush's powers in the areas of luck and healing. What about the local folklore surrounding the bush?
St. Patrick and Finn McCool, back in the good old days, were having their breakfast on top of Slieve na Mon. And St. Patrick stole Finn McCool's porridge. And he was running down the Kells Road. In the old days, I suppose it was only a track. And Finn McCool took up a stone up in Winegap, and there's a little dip in Winegap where he took up the stone and threw it at St. Patrick, but he missed him by a few yards. And St. Patrick was so grateful for being saved, he knelt down on a stone under this bush, and his knee melted into it. And he was so grateful that he wiped his brow with a rag up his road. There was no handkerchiefs in those days, and he tied the rag on the bush, and this is possibly how it started.
Although we haven't found out the exact origins of the bush, it appears from the items that are hanging on it that it isn't a deeply religious practice, at least in modern times. I wonder will it last?
I think it will, because it's harmless. It's a harmless habit. It doesn't do any harm. People believe in it. I suppose in the times we're living in now, people are looking for alternatives for everything, and if it's an alternative medicine, if it's an alternative cure, why not try it? But There's no harm in it. The only fear I have is that the bush mightn't last.
We're very proud of the bush, and during a storm about 4 or 5 years ago, it blew down. So we got it up and we thought it would die, but it's still blooming and we hope to keep it that way. Just on the turn of the century, we decided that we would put up some kind of a stone saying what the rag bush was. So what we put on it was St. Patrick's Raggedy bush, age-old tradition.
I for one are going to make sure that this ancient tradition doesn't die out.
How pleasant in winter to sit by the hob, listening to the barks and the howls of a dog, or in summer to wander the wide valleys through, and to pluck the wildflowers in the May morning dew. Summer is coming, oh summer is here, with the leaves